We'll now move to City Manager recommendations and reports. Mr. Arnell.
Thank you, Chairman. Yesterday you had asked for an update of 2500 North Ocean Boulevard. Mr. Brown, your Deputy City Manager, is here today to provide you with that update.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. George Brown, Deputy City Manager. You do have a memorandum on the dais that has more details, but I'll go through it briefly. As you know, there's a proposal to construct a single-family residence at 2500 North Ocean Boulevard. In order for that structure to receive a building permit, a lot width variance, an environmental advisory board review and approval, a coastal construction control line approval variance would be necessary from the city. A Florida Department of Environmental Protection permit and a city building permit would be required. As council is aware, you approved a lot width variance on appeal from a denial by the Zoning Board of Adjustment back in December of 2015. The Environmental Advisory Board review, the Coastal Construction Control Line variance, and the building permit are pending. The DEP notice to proceed has been issued, and I'll give a little bit more of discussion about that in a second. The EAB review is required by code for any alteration to environmentally sensitive lands. Because this is a dune, the environmentally sensitive land will be altered, and the EAB's findings and recommendations would be presented to City Council with the Coastal Construction Control Line variance at such time as that comes forward to you. We just received the initial EAB application on November 4th. So the applicant will be getting staff's comments, and then we'll have an opportunity to respond before that is scheduled before the Environmental Advisory Board. The CCCL, which is the Coastal Construction Control Line variance application, was submitted back in June of 2012, and it has not been updated since that time. But as council will recall, there was significant discussion between staff and the applicant. The plans were revised several times prior to the lot width variance being requested. The application was pending, awaiting the result of that lot width and setback variance application. You all, in your approval of the lot width variance, conditioned that the setback encroachment be eliminated and that the revised plans for taking that setback away be consistent with the plans upon which you approved the lot width variance. Staff's waiting for the applicant to resubmit revised plans. We have met with them and reviewed the preliminary plans, but we don't have a revised submittal. As you're aware, the Florida Department of Environmental Protection has issued a notice to proceed with construction on the property, which is a permit under their jurisdiction to allow construction of the house. The city CCL variance application is still pending, and the city will not issue a building permit without the CCL variance being approved, regardless of FDEP's notice to proceed. Typically, the applicant would request a letter from the city to provide to the Department of Environmental Protection that would state that the project doesn't conflict with our zoning codes. And the written confirmation from the city is one of the DEP's application requirements. We have done this on all projects since at least 2001, including our own dune management projects. Staff contacted the DEP to inquire as why they would have issued this notice to proceed without a letter from the city, and the DEP staff confirmed that although that's not their usual practice, they accepted a copy of the resolution granting the lot width variance as the city's authorization, rather than the letter that certifies compliance with zoning. Again, the city cannot and will not issue a building permit unless there's a CCL variance on the property. My memorandum also includes the criteria under which you would review a variance at such time as it comes to you, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Wow, that's incredible. The DEP did that. I'm really shocked. I truly am. Comments, questions, anybody? Mr. Singer?
What do we know about how DEP arrived at that determination?
All we know is what they told the staff, which is that they accepted that resolution as the city's authorization of compliance with zoning.
I guess
it does not.
The reviewer didn't know the difference between a lot width variance and a coastal construction line variance.
Or the reviewer was persuaded that it was appropriate.
As I understand it, the staff inquired further about that, and the DEP staff members were instructed by the DEP lawyers to issue the permit, is what I understand.
It's always those lawyers. Interesting. All right.
And that's all we know about it.
That is what we know at this point. Their application for a CCCL variance is pending, waiting this resubmittal of plans and processing through the Environmental Advisory Board to City Council. We
Okay.
do not have a schedule for that at this time.
All right, very good. Well, that's the position we find ourselves in. But thank you very much, Mr. Brown and Mr. Arnell, for at least bringing us up to date on this issue.